Under the cold silence of the void, the Galactic Empire's High Council gathered behind sealed doors. Conversations moved in coded dialects, drenched in fear masquerading as strategy. The word human didn't pass their lips often, but when it did, it came with a shadow. Elise Vorn was not just a name. She was an anomaly, calm, absolute, and undefeated. No species had broken her command, and worse, many had started to follow her. 7 were chosen. Silent, shape-shifting assassins engineered for one purpose: terminate without question. They were not warriors. They were endpoints. When they moved, war never started. The High Council didn't debate the ethics. They issued one directive: erase the human general. No witnesses. No debris. No questions later. Elise Vorn operated on the frontier station Blackridge 7, a structure embedded inside a frozen asteroid orbiting a no-man's star. Strategically irrelevant but politically volatile. It was neutral territory, too neutral to be safe. The kind of place where an accident could be explained in post-conflict footnote. She inspected supply chains, issued deployment orders, and reviewed garrison drills, all within precise cycles. What the spies recorded, the assassins memorized. Her sleep quarters, her backup escape paths, the lighting lag in Corridor 12A, the exposed HVAC exit near the war boardroom. They knew the pulse of the station. They thought they knew hers. They arrived under diplomatic clearance from the Urnak Syndicate, allies with the Empire under multiple hidden charters. Their documentation was perfect. Their arrival timed during a civilian security rotation. No red flags. No resistance. They entered Blackridge, 7 like shadows wearing smiles. Elise didn't look at them during the initial meeting. She simply nodded, signed their diplomatic logs, and walked away. The assassins waited 2 days. They scoped the station, watched the command flow, noted every guard rotation. They silently approved each other's kill locations. Everything had been accounted for, except for the woman they were sent to kill. The war room was soundproof, light-dampened, and supposedly shielded. It was the perfect place to murder someone important. The lights cut at precisely 0200. Security systems fell silent. 2 guards dropped instantly from neurotoxins. The main door sealed. 6 entered. 1 stayed outside. She was not alone. They emerged into a dim red light. Elise stood at the head of the table, hands still over a console. She didn't reach for a weapon. She didn't shout. She walked directly toward them. The first assassin lunged, fast, cloaked in camo skin, blades out. She sidestepped. The floor cracked from the force of her pivot. Her elbow shattered the assassin's neck midair. The body hit the floor with a noise that made the others pause for a fraction of a second too long. In that space of hesitation, 2 died. 1 from a silent slug to the forehead. The other's spine turned to powder after being slammed against the console's edge. Her guards, 2 still breathing, opened fire. The 4th assassin evaded, shifted shape, tried to disappear into ceiling vent. He didn't get halfway before the entire vent collapsed under a remote detonation she triggered. The last 2 adapted. Faster. Smarter. They tried to separate her from her remaining team. They nearly succeeded. Elise took a blade to the rib. One of her guards lost both hands. But it ended with blood painting the council desk, a severed alien head crushed beneath her boot, and the final body twitching as tentacles tried to regrow what was already destroyed. The aftermath wasn't grief. It wasn't anger. It was procedure. She ordered the remains bagged. But the heads, she kept those separate. 7 in total. Black sludge and bone shards. She didn't say what she was doing with them. She didn't have to. The diplomatic container was reinforced, vacuum-sealed, and sensor-protected. It arrived on the floor of the Galactic Council chamber 2 days later. Protocol demanded no interference with high-priority diplomatic couriers. No one expected anything biological. No one was ready. When the seals disengaged and the lid hissed open, a circle of heads stared back. 7 alien skulls, partially intact, cleaned but still oozing residue. In the center of them, Silent and gleaming, sat a single Terran coin. No message. No words. No demands. The chamber fell into silence deeper than vacuum. One delegate staggered back. Another vomited. A third collapsed from cardiac shock. The Emperor's liaison tried to speak, but only managed a fractured growl before falling mute. The human representative wasn't even present. Within the hour, the Empire severed all digital records connecting it to the Urnak Syndicate. All mentions of Operation Veil were purged. High General Sorik was quietly executed. 5 junior officials disappeared. News outlets ran stories of a mysterious rebel plot targeting a frontier human base. The Council knew better. A quiet memo passed between species. Do not provoke the humans. Do not approach Elise Vorn. And if you value your fleets, your colonies, your legacy, do not send another assassin. Back on Blackridge 7, repairs were underway. The staff didn't talk about the attack. The bodies were gone. The blood was scrubbed. Elise didn't speak of it either. She stood on the command deck, reviewing star charts. New deployments. New threats. A warning system was being developed for early detection of cloaked infiltrators. She didn't request it. She knew they'd never try again the same way. Her injury was healing. The pain was irrelevant. 2 more Empire spies were caught a week later trying to breach the station's outer perimeter. They weren't sent back. No heads were returned this time. Only silence. The Council debated for weeks how to interpret that. The Galactic Council held an emergency session behind reinforced blast walls. Every species with power had a representative present, but none were speaking with certainty. The message had been received. The heads weren't just a warning, they were a declaration. No ultimatum. No demand. Only a fact. Elise Vorn lived, and the Empire's assassins didn't. The Urnak Syndicate, burned and humiliated, disavowed any knowledge of the operation, then quietly withdrew from Council alliances. But everyone knew the truth. The Empire had tried to erase a human general and failed. The Council was left staring at the consequences. The Empire responded the way empires always do, by attempting to save face with violence. A small human convoy was identified moving through neutral space, unescorted, unarmed. The Empire sent a destroyer group to intercept. No announcement. No trace. 20 ships departed. None returned. 2 days later, a derelict dreadnought drifted into a core Empire shipping lane. Carved into its hull with extreme precision was a circle, 7 points, and in the center, the Terran coin. News didn't break. It leaked. In the outer systems, minor species pulled their embassies from Imperial space. Others opened quiet backchannels to Earth. Requests came disguised as trade agreements, but all asked the same question. Can you protect us if they retaliate? Earth said nothing. Elise Vorn didn't respond. Her silence was the response. The Empire claimed human aggression. Their news feeds showed forged footage of human ships ambushing patrols. Their citizens believed it for a while. Until a fragment of raw video surfaced. A single human vessel disabling an entire Imperial strike group in under a minute. No explosions. No grand firefight. Just ships powered down, weapons melted inside their bays, life support intact but command disabled. The Council's internal network buzzed with speculation, fear, and quiet awe. How had they done it? What technology could turn a full Imperial battle group into scrap without a shot? No one had an answer, and no human offered one. Elise Vorn simply moved her fleets 2 sectors deeper into former neutral space. Stations along the border began flying Earth's banner voluntarily. The Empire's High War Command gathered in secret. Retaliation was debated, but so was surrender. No decision was made before Elise sent her next message. Not a threat, not a demand, but a body. General Tiervok, one of the minds behind the assassination attempt, was found shackled at the foot of the Council's central chamber. He was alive, barely, and he said nothing. A slit had been carved into his chest. Inside, a device had been embedded, a transmitter playing a simple message on loop. Next time, I bring the fleet. She arrived at the council without invitation. No guards. No ceremony. She walked into the chamber dressed in command red, a pistol on her hip, and the Terran emblem on her collar. Council security didn't stop her. The silence as she stood before them was deeper than any void. She spoke only once. If you want war, send your fleets. If you want peace, silence your knives. If you do neither, then I will do both for you. She turned and left. No vote was taken. No resolution passed. But every species understood. Humanity would no longer wait to be respected. It would be assumed. Or enforced. The Empire responded by trying to rally allies. They offered old treaties, favors, bribes, protection. None accepted. Their influence began collapsing inward. Colonies declared independence. Military governors resigned. Officers fled to unaligned sectors. Elise did nothing. Her fleets didn't invade. Her forces didn't occupy. She simply stood visible at the edge of known space and waited. A year later, the Empire's eastern quadrant broke into civil war. On every rebel flag was the same sigil, 7 points in a ring with a Terran coin in the center. It wasn't a declaration of allegiance. It was a symbol of the possible. The untouchable had been touched. The invincible had bled. The idea of empire had collapsed before a single Terran fleet had entered their space. Within the Council, votes shifted. Earth was granted primary negotiation authority in all neutral zone military pact. Elise Vorn was named by name in new charters, cited as a stabilizing force. Human delegations began arriving without invitations, and were no longer challenged. They didn't threaten. They didn't request. They moved like gravity, unspoken, inevitable. Empire hardliners tried one final play. A fleet of modified stealth ships moved toward Earth's Mars defense grid. The intent was clear. No survivors. No admission. No evidence. They never made it. Mars detected them before they passed Jupiter. Human satellites didn't fire. They simply reprogrammed the enemy fleet's navigation systems mid-flight. Ships crashed into each other, spiraled into the sun, or were redirected to the farthest edges of empty space. Elise Vorn never commented. She didn't have to. The ships had been warned. The Empire collapsed in stages. Officially, it still existed. Unofficially, it had been neutered. It could bark, but no longer bite. Its council seats remained filled but irrelevant. Delegates spoke, but no one listened. Elise had no army stationed at their borders. She didn't need one. The memory of what happened on Blackridge 7 was still circulating, the image of those 7 heads in a box, of the coin, of the silence. New civilizations began asking Earth for entry protocols, not as refugees, but as equals. Old enemies requested ceasefires with humanity. Corporations moved their interstellar headquarters to human space. Elise Vorn declined most meetings. She didn't engage in ceremony. Her time was not wasted on reputation building. She spent her days reviewing data, overseeing the next-generation fleets, and authorizing science expeditions into uncharted regions. She was building something beyond deterrence, beyond revenge. Humanity had entered the galaxy not as conquerors, but as a species that remembered how to end wars before they started. When she finally returned to Earth, there were no parades, no camera feeds, just a silent docking, a quiet walkway, and a classified debriefing in orbit. The file was sealed with one phrase: Final impact, mission executed. Galactic strategic realignment, complete. Whispers remained. Delegates across the galaxy spoke her name like a myth. Children of other species grew up hearing warnings. Don't provoke the humans. Don't test the silence. Don't try what the Empire tried. Elise Vorn's face was never shown in public again. Her voice was never broadcast. But across the stars, her legacy was inked in the blood of assassins, the silence of warships, and the unmistakable sound of fear when Earth entered the room.